something that my mother's always told me, basically the number one rule when it comes to relationships, whether those are family, friends, romantic, marriage, is you never hit below the belt. Now, that doesn't just mean literally about physically hurting somebody, specifically in the gonads, but it means that you should never do or specifically say anything that you can't take back. Now, the Bible tells us that out of our mouths our heart speaks. And what that means to me is that sometimes we may joke and say, oh, I didn't mean that, or it's a Freudian slip. But that's what it is. You say something in a heated moment, in an argument, and suddenly you can't take that back. And you're suddenly stuck now with your significant other or this family member or friend, knowing that you think a certain way about them. Because even if you really genuinely don't mean it, you still said it. And your words were said in a way to intentionally hurt somebody. Now, when I think about relationships, relationships are confusing. And in my mind, I've always said that relationships are a challenge, but, they take work, but they should also come really easy, in the sense that you should be with someone who makes relationships easy. And that, obviously relationships are work, but they're worth it because of the person that you're with. But I've seen relationships fall, not just because of mistakes, but because people genuinely stopped giving the attention that was deserving of their partner, whether it's with friendships or relationship. But for the purposes of this video, let's talk about marriage and relationships. Now, in my personal opinion, not giving someone, or specifically the relationship, the attention that it deserves goes under the same lines of hitting below the belt. When you stop giving the attention to a marriage, or stop giving the attention to a relationship that it deserves, you are purposefully ignoring that person and the love and commitment that you've made towards them. I have witnessed relationships and marriages, and I mean, a bunch of us might be able to say we've witnessed our grandparents ended up sleeping in separate beds as they got older. Some of us might still come from that. Doesn't necessarily mean that they don't love each other, they just need separate beds. However, I've also witnessed parents of my parents' generation sleeping in separate rooms. And sometimes it is for a medical issue. However, even if you don't have your spouse there in the middle of the night, your partner there in the middle of the night, there needs to be effort and action taken outside of the bedroom. Because when you start to pull away, even if it's not intentional, you start to lose the relationship. And you may not notice it right away. You may not notice it a couple months later, or even a couple of years later. But suddenly you wake up one day and you realize that that person's gone. And you don't know where you came from. You don't know how it happened. You just know that it happened. Everybody's got their excuses. Everyone wants to play a blame game. And the unfortunate thing is that a lot of people will look at the situation and realize that it's going to take work to get back to where they were. That it's going to take effort and dedication and attention to get back to that place. And the problem is with a lot of couples today, is that they don't want to do the work. They don't want to put in the effort. It's just easier to get up and go their separate ways. I was kind of raised under the idea that divorce is something that should only happen under extreme circumstances. It's not used for the lighthearted. It's messy. Things are confusing. People get hurt. Kids and family members and friends get stuck in the middle, and things can be confusing. And I'm not saying that divorce is wrong, because I've seen situations where people are better off divorced. And, I believe under certain circumstances it's okay to get divorced. But I think it should also be the last possible option. I don't think that people today try hard enough. I think people want to get a quick way out. And it's just easier to just say, well, let's just get a divorce, before saying, you know what, maybe let's try spending a little more time together. Or let me just go make breakfast just this once. Or let me go clean up this. Or let me do this. They go, leave them a little love note on the fridge or something. Little steps, or, even the major ones. Oh, I don't want to go to therapy. I don't want to have to talk about my problems or my issues or my deep-seated hatred for this. I honestly believe that some people just stop trying. And the thing is that when you reach a point in your lives where you are at a crossroads with your relationship, whether you're married or not, when you're at a crossroads in your relationship and you realize something has to give, that is the moment where you have to stop. You have to look at your partner and remember what brought you two together in the first place. Because so many people, years later, yes, relationships take work, and relationships cannot last, 50 plus years on just a mere feeling, because they do take work and they do take effort. I'm not saying that love shouldn't be there, but it is. But it does take work. But when you're about to face that work and you're scared of it and you're nervous and you're confused, I'd honestly say, try and remember what brought you two together in the first place. What do you like about that person? What about that person makes your skin just tingle and your heart start racing and your stomach get all twisted? Is it the way they smile? Is it the way they pronounce a certain word? Is it how they drink their coffee? Is it their random obsession about a television show? Is it the way they just talk to you, or they look at you, or how they listen, and how they a million different things, a million different ideas, or how you watch them interact with somebody that you care about and love. It's those kind of things that you need to go back to. Because once you remember how you fell in love with them, or why you fell in love with them, then I genuinely believe that, when there's just a lot of little issues that have just kind of built up over time and they just need work, I genuinely believe that when you start re-examining that person and re-examining yourself and remember what brought the two of you together in the first place, you'll genuinely be able to put in that work and find that motivation. Because especially once you've found the love of your life, once you've found your soulmate, you really don't want to have to start looking again. And sometimes people make mistakes, and sometimes, bad things happen. But I'd honestly say exhaust every last possible option before you walk away from something. Because you never want to leave something with a bunch of regrets. If you're going to part, make sure you part in the best possible terms that you can, knowing that you gave every last bit of your energy towards this. Because if you gave every last bit of your love to this person, and all this time and energy and dedication, while courting them and falling in love with them, wouldn't it be right to give the same amount of love and dedication and effort and energy towards seeing if it's meant to be and if it's supposed to work itself out in the end? Just some food for thought.